one of the ways that I did research for the Bridge Home was to actually delve back into my own childhood. It was very hard for me to do because I had to relive some very difficult things. I had a father who could be extremely cruel and unkind, and that was something that I really didn't want to look at, and I had to revisit that to write the novel. But my parents divorced when I was about 8 years old, which is very uncommon in India at that time. And throughout school and college, I was the only child with a single mother that was, who also had a father that was alive that I knew of. And so that was hard, but my mother, even though she went from being extremely wealthy to suddenly being not wealthy at all after my parents split up, continued to do social work and continued to volunteer in schools where I met children who had far less than even I did. So children like Viji and Ruku and Muthu and Arul. And I wrote in a little diary when I was a child, so I revisited that diary. I read a poem that I'd written when I was very young, and that poem sort of captured the feeling, the spirit that those friends of mine had. And I spent a lot of time thinking about those friendships I'd made, the stories that they had told me that I had recorded in a childish way. And I also spent time in India visiting schools like the ones that you see in the Bridge Home, and speaking to adults who are still involved with helping children. So I did a bit of that, and I did a lot of reading, lots of nonfiction and lots of fiction as well. Growing up in India was in some ways like growing up anywhere else in the world, but I think there were probably some differences. As I said, my parents separated when I was young, so I was bullied a lot, in part because of that, because it was such an unusual thing at the time. So that was a bit odd. Girls and boys were treated very differently in India when I was growing up. So there was definitely a lack of understanding and a lack of acceptance of gender equality in a very general sense. And so I was a bit of a rebel. I felt strongly about a lot of things, and when I felt strongly, I stuck up for myself or for my beliefs, and my ideas were not always the ideas that some people around me had. So people in my family sometimes thought I was angry. I don't think I was angry. I just think that I was strong, and I had beliefs that I still have, which are, among other things, that people should be treated equally. And everywhere that I've traveled, I've lived in 5 countries, and everywhere I've been, I've seen people treat one another badly and poorly and in ways that are unequal. So that exists all over the world. But I certainly experienced some very Indian ways of that inequality, I don't know, happening, I suppose. In the sense that I certainly understood what caste was and caste divisions, which are horrifying. And so those were some of the not so lovely things. Some of the good things were the food. I still love Indian food, and I love the sunshine. There's also a certain sort of warmth that you find in the Indian culture that was wonderful. If you're a young person who wants to become an author or an illustrator, the best thing you can do is read as much as you can. And if you're a person who loves fantasy, try something that isn't fantasy. If you don't like science fiction, try science fiction. I think it's important for you to not restrict yourself when you read or when you look at books, but just to try to explore everything. In terms of art as well, if you don't like modern art, then try to find something about it that you do like. So go and visit it a little bit. Don't ever restrict your taste yet. So just read widely and look at illustrations and art widely. And also, I think it's so important to reread. So if you read a book like The Bridge Home, for instance, the first time, I want you to be caught up in the characters and in the story. But when you reread it, you might ask questions like, Ruku, who seems to be so many people's favorite character, is somebody who doesn't say very much. So you might ask yourself, how does that happen that we understand exactly how Ruku feels even though she doesn't say very much? And you might ask, for instance, how Viji, the narrator, is the voice that she uses, second person direct address, is very unusual in literature. So you might ask, why is that? And how does it work in the Bridge Home? And why does it work so well in the Bridge Home? So you ask yourself different questions when you're reading it. I think that's very important. And the third thing that is so important to me is that you play and that you try to have fun when you write and you read. So especially if you're writing, try all sorts of different things. On my website, www.padmavenkatraman.com, so my whole name, if you could spell it correctly, and then add a .com, there will be writing prompts that I've been putting out actually every once a month, and I will be doing that. I'll be trying to post a blog once a month which has writing prompts. So try those writing prompts and just enjoy yourself and live as best you can, whether you're an illustrator or an author, to just observe the world and look and try to collect the detail, and all of that is also so very important. So good luck and enjoy yourself. I hope that every reader who picks up the Bridge Home and opens the pages is opening a door into not just the place that Amru and Vijay and Ruku and Muthu live, which is India, but I hope much more than that. I hope that the Bridge Home will allow you to enter the minds and hearts of the characters in the Bridge Home so that you understand them from the inside. I think the best thing a book can do, and I really hope that the Bridge Home does that, is to increase our empathy and our compassion for one another, which means really understanding somebody who isn't you from the inside. And to me, that's the most important thing that the Bridge Home can do. And I think if readers were to close the book and carry the characters in the Bridge Home in their hearts and minds, that would mean a lot to me. And that means, I hope, that every reader will consider what they can do either for the environment to reduce rubbish or to understand why the world is so unequal and do something, maybe to help out with hunger or poverty or homelessness in their own backyards, because unfortunately these problems are everywhere. And beyond that, the only thing that I do want to say is that already the Bridge Home has had an impact that is beyond anything I could ever have imagined, and that is that it has helped some children and some adults who were in unsafe situations to move to stronger situations where they were safe. And to me, that is the greatest gift.